Hey everybody, Andrew here from the Oak Ridge Studio. And today's video I want to answer the question, what's the best computer system to buy for my small local theater? Now, if you don't want a bunch of preamble, you want to go straight to the information, each section of this video is timestamped below so you can get straight to the stuff you need. I've also included a tech specs requirement sheet and a course of action guide in the comments that you can download for free. Now for a quick preamble, Rachel and I here at the Oak Ridge Studio are part of the production team for our small local theater. And when I say small local theater, I mean we're about a 320 cap venue, mostly volunteer staff and production team. As part of that team, we do music direction, sound design, audio and video production. We do about 2 to 4 productions a year of various scales and types. Recently, the director of our theater asked our production team to spec out an upgrade to our computer system, basically going from nothing to something. I've spent a lot of time in theater groups, both online and in person, and I see this question asked a lot for local theaters. So just, hey, what's the best computer system to buy? Now, obviously, there's no single right answer for every theater. It depends on a lot of factors, like what kind of shows are you doing, for example. Are you doing tech-heavy musicals and reviews? Do you just need sound effects for a stage play? Do you want to be able to control audio, video, and lighting at the same time, or just one? What's your budget? Do you have donors? Do you have members? Do you have investors who contribute? Do you rely solely on ticket sales and concessions to make money? Now, even though the factors vary widely, I think there are some things in the decision-making process that can be standardized across all levels. So I've divided this video up into 2 sections. The first section is simple. How did we decide what to buy? Second section, what did we end up buying? Let's dive in. So first things first, how did we decide what to buy? Well, we started by making a list of our most important criteria. This is your dream list. What do you want to be able to do and why? Our main criteria, in no particular order, were as follows. Number 1, scalability. We wanted a computer that can handle multiple high quality video, audio, and lighting cues without fail. Not every show is going to be tech heavy, but some will be. For example, Elf, the musical, songs, limited sound effects, static background images, not very tech heavy. Christmas Story, stage play that had a lot of practical sets, just needed short musical cues and sound effects, not very tech heavy. By contrast, a show like Wizard of Oz, very tech heavy. Lots of music, lots of video backgrounds, lighting, sound effects, etc. We've done several reviews, a Broadway review, a Hollywood review, lots of synced video, music, sound effects, and lighting cues. And we do shows that require live instrumentation, such as keyboards and MIDI instruments, a lot of things that need to be brought together. Also under scalability, we want a computer that has a lot of quote-unquote headroom so that new capabilities can be added in the future as we see fit. We don't want to be maxing out our system. Our second criteria was speed and storage. We want an i9 plus core processor for efficiency. It's got to be nimble, can't bind up on multiple processes. 16 plus gigabytes of RAM for speed, 512 gigabytes to 1 terabyte of memory for storage of audio and video files. A lot of those are going to be stored on the machines. And by the way, this is another reason why we decided to stick with the Macs for our theater rather than PCs. Due to the core architecture, Macs tend to be very efficient at using their power for multiple things at once. Number 3, screens. It's got to be able to run 2 or more displays. For example, it's got to be able to run a monitor in the video booth, plus a main projection screen and side projection screens, etc. Now, higher end Macs definitely have this ability, but understand that could also mean higher cost. Number 4, specificity. It's got to be able to run industry standard software for theater and show production. A lot of industry standard programs like QLAB are Mac only programs, and so we wanted to stay within that atmosphere. If you have a question about why QLAB versus other programs, stay tuned because I'll have a video coming out about that soon. Additional considerations here. First one is redundancy. I am big on having backups for our shows. I never do a show where I don't have a backup in place should things go wrong. Tech problems can happen at every level. Even on the Broadway level, shows have to be stopped occasionally when there are tech issues. And while you can't always prevent tech issues, you can plan ahead for them and minimize their impact. If our primary computer goes down during a show, which can happen for a variety of reasons, Regardless of how good your system is, it's much better to be able to take a short break, hook up a backup system that you already have prepared and running. So our team wisely suggested that we spec out a second computer. Now you might think, well, that's too expensive. We can't, we're talking about one computer, now we're talking about two computers, and I hear you, but I am going to give you some suggestions on how you can get the most out of your money at several different price levels. That's what that downloadable COA sheet is for. Another additional consideration, replacement. One of the realities of the Mac ecosystem is that you have a shorter obsolescence curve. Older operating systems will eventually be phased out and you won't be able to receive updates. But there is good open source info on the web on how to keep older Macs operating for a much longer period of time. The upside of that obsolescence curve is that if your budget is low, you can find really good deals on used Macs that are only a few years old, but are still fast, agile, and have plenty of life left in them. The downside is you have to put a plan in place for replacement early in the purchasing cycle. In general, with newer Macs, we say plan for a 5-year replacement cycle. Seventh consideration, price. This is always a consideration at every level, but there are lots of price-friendly options for you out there. Our numbers here for this video are going to be primarily focused on the Mac universe for reasons I already said. But again, this decision-making process, I think, will help you produce a good price rubric for whatever you're looking for, even if you decide to go the PC route. And the final consideration is flexibility, portability, and security. There's three really, but I'm putting them all together because they go hand in hand. Portability is nice. It's great to have a laptop or something that you can move around the theater from booth to stage. But when you have multiple techs and volunteers working on a specific platform, you also need to make sure your assets don't simply walk away. In theory, a system that's bound to a booth is less likely to disappear and easier to secure. In this case, we decided a hybrid system that was booth bound and also portable would meet our needs the best and also fulfill our redundancy requirement. Okay, so that covers the question of how did we decide what to buy. Again, please, if you want all of this in a one-page, easy format, go check out that COA sheet and tech specs guide that I have available for download in the comments. So section 2, what did we buy? Using our criteria, what did we end up going with? So given all of our criteria, we outlined 3 courses of action. All 3 of them included a static computer system such as a Mac Mini paired with a mobile computer system such as a MacBook Pro. And once we determined that those 2 computer systems were the ones we were going to target, it became about what combination of the 2 do we want to get in terms of used versus new to get the price that we needed. Again, all of these are outlined in our downloadable courses of action guide in the comments. All right, so let's talk about these COAs you can see on your screen. COA 1 for us was purchasing a Mac Mini M2 Pro Max. The deal about the Pro Max is that it can support multiple displays, 2 to 3 displays, and so that's really important. A used MacBook Pro M1 or M2, which would greatly reduce the cost on that. This was about the mid-priced option. COA 2 was the used Mac Mini and a new MacBook Pro M3 Pro Max, again, for all the displays and the powerful needs. Biggest thing about this is that this is the highest cost option, about $3,600 to $4,300, and you need a lot of dongles. This is a big one, robust docking and dongles. There's a little bit of a disadvantage there. COA 3, of course, is buying both used, Mac Mini and the MacBook Pro used. This is the lowest cost option and, would have served our needs, but certainly would have a much shorter replacement window. Ultimately, we decided to go with COA 1, the mid-priced option that included the M2 Mac Mini Pro Max and the MacBook Pro used, the very computers, in fact, that you're watching me unbox on the screen right now. In addition to these 2 computers, we purchased the audio and video licenses for QLAB, and we did use QLAB this year for our big Christmas show, which included a lot of video, music, sound cues, and a little bit of a learning curve with QLAB. It's relatively intuitive, but there's a learning curve there on some various advanced features, but great, excellent, great experience overall. I will say, given that we decided to stick with Macs and then use QLAB as our primary software, QLAB has a great write-up on their website that goes very deep on what type of Macs works best with running QLAB. And we use that information to help us decide which ones to choose. Of course, if your budget is much lower, you can simply purchase one computer at a time. And you can really play with the specs to get a lower price on the machine you're looking for. Just a caution though, if you have to go the really low price route, you are going to have to accept some limitations on the types of things you can and can't do tech-wise. There could be speed and power limitations that might affect the things you can do in your shows. Like I said before, you don't want to be maxing out your system for every single show because that does give you a higher likelihood of failure. So if this video has been helpful to you, go ahead and like and subscribe to our channel. I have lots of similar content coming future in the pipeline. I want to do a deep dive into a couple of topics we covered in this video. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm whacked out. If you think this information is bogus, how did your theater handle this particular issue? Let us know in the comments. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you later.